ASIG, and Foreign Service Manual. In terms of review, as I said, currently these are the documents or policy documents that as a ministry we are currently engaged with. In going about it, we have a two-pronged approach we adopt. That is to say, we have a smaller group that will look at each policy document, draft something, and submit to the larger group, headed by the permanent secretary, the two permanent secretaries at SMT level, so that we look at what they have developed and we review it. So this has been the process that we adopted, and we continue to work progressively in developing these documents. At the end of this drafting exercise, our intention is to also seek inputs from Gambian missions abroad, as well as partners in the country. Because you will agree with me that, yes, these are policy documents owned by the ministry, but implementation of each one of them would require partnership with other stakeholders. So at the moment, what we do is teams meet periodically, especially during working hours, to make sure that we fast track work on these policy documents, because as a management, we are concerned that some of these documents, their review process has taken too long. But of course, all centers on capacity issues. The intention has been there to make sure that progress is registered, but there are definitely capacity issues on the ground. Combining policy development with daily routine activities is not an easy thing, especially for a ministry like Foreign Affairs, where in a day sometimes you attend 4 or 5 meetings. I just came from a meeting to walk into this assembly. So I will also try to maybe give you where we are in terms of each of the policies mentioned, starting with the Foreign Service rules, which is currently under review. This will be the third review, since we have the first edition in 2002, then the second edition in 2012. The ministry is currently conducting a full review of the FSR 2012, and the draft is almost completed. Yesterday, we had our final meeting on the main text. What is now left is to develop the annexes that will be attached. The selection on personal emoluments also is a new development in the current draft that is under consideration. So mainly, that is what is left. And also we have some proposals that we think will also have to be included in the review or in the document that is going to come into effect. This is because, as we know, foreign policy, diplomacy keep evolving. A document that served you well 10 years ago will not be able to continue serving you. So as a result, there are some emerging issues. And then we realize that these were not captured in the document. So we are trying to put them, but again, that will also involve negotiation with Ministry of Finance, Accountant General, and other stakeholders, because there will be resource issues. And where resource issues are concerned, the ministry will definitely need the support of the Assembly, especially this committee. Whatever we are going to put in the new document would only be for the good of the country, because we need to look at the welfare of our diplomatic staff. These are issues that have been there for many years. Whatever we can do to improve the service condition of our diplomats wherever they are, both in the ministry and abroad, will be something that we will appreciate everybody's support on. Our intention is to ensure that this document is placed before Cabinet for approval, hopefully all things being equal, before the end of December. This is our intention. So in terms of our brief on foreign service rules, this is where matters stand. On the posting policy will provide a framework for rational deployment and rotation of officers within the foreign service. A new document is being formulated and work is currently at an advanced stage. However, since this is the first of its kind, a consultant will be needed to do a final review of the draft. This document is also expected to be finalized by the end of the year, at which stage a copy will be submitted to Cabinet for consideration and approval. On the Foreign Service Bill, the objective of this bill is to provide a law for the establishment, management, administration, accountability, and functioning of a professionally and cadre-oriented foreign service within the Republic of the Gambia. The document will feature, among others, the organizational structure of the ministry, conditions for establishing missions abroad, as well as the staffing and their conditions of service. Once in place, the ministry will have a legal framework to support the foreign service regulations, the scheme of service, posting policy, etc. Work is currently at an advanced stage, but due to the technical nature of the process, it will be difficult to give a definite deadline in terms of framework as to when this can be concluded. But our wish is to make sure that this also is completed by end of December this year. Because as I said, these are things that have been, there for some time now. So we want to make sure that we fast track everything so that by December, Cabinet would have a copy for consideration and approval. Moving forward, the scheme of service. The scheme of service has been completed and approved by the Public Service Commission. The scheme determines the duties and functions of each position and title at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, and Gambians abroad. It has also been submitted to all Gambian diplomatic missions abroad for their notice and retention. Then you have the Foreign Service Strategy. The Foreign Service Strategy, if finalized, will enable the ministry contribute to the development of the country in the medium and long term. The Foreign Service Strategy will provide a vehicle through which ministry will align its activities with the National Development Plan and also featured costed programs in both the short and long term. It is expected to be finalized by the end of 2023 or early next year, at which stage, again, a copy will be submitted to Cabinet for approval. Diaspora Strategy. We are the ministry in charge of Gambian diaspora. As a result, work on developing a diaspora strategy is already completed. What is now left is to adopt the strategy. And the ministry is working with partners, especially GK partners, to make sure that this strategy is adopted as soon as possible. On Foreign Service Manual, the ministry will need the service of a consultant to develop, but there is no provision for that in the current budget. We would endeavor to include in the 2024 budget. Honorable members, it is also important to communicate that in developing these policy documents, the ministry, as indicated, will seek inputs from all stakeholders, both in the country and outside, especially Gambian missions abroad. We have also identified selected countries in Africa that we think we should seek technical assistance and partnership from. Mainly about 5 countries. I don't need to mention them here, but in-house, this is what we have. We identified a number of countries that we think have already established structured foreign service that we want to learn lessons from. And whatever happens, this August body will be informed as and when we progress. We have also approached the UN country team to see what kind of partnership we can develop with them in terms of policy development, because they have expertise where they don't have in-house here. They can source it from abroad. Honorable members, on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Mamadou Tangara, basically this is what I have. And I want to thank my brother, Director Mbub, for accompanying us. We have been busy with so many things, as you know. Currently, we are developing our manpower budget. That's where some of the directors are engaged with. And the permanent secretary too, who was here with me a few days ago, is apparently busy with the minister in another meeting. But in brief, this is what we have in terms of where we are in developing the policies that we believe, once adopted, would help the Gambia Foreign Service move forward. Again, I seize this opportunity on behalf of the minister to express our delight and appreciation to this committee. You have supported us throughout, and we hope and pray that you will continue to support us, because running a foreign service requires a lot of resources, and the challenges will always be there. But we have no doubt that we are ready for the challenges, and we will do our level best to deliver to expectations. As I said, once again, we thank you and your subject specialist, Ambassador Ka, who happens to be our senior brother. There are challenges that I don't need to talk about because he was also in the field before. Thank you. This is what we have for you.
Thank you so much, Piers, for that marathon briefing. I think you highlighted so many key areas which is a great concern of everybody, especially when it comes to the foreign service bill. We have so many issues to deal with this bill, and I think we would like you to expedite the efforts to make sure that this bill gets into the parliament at the end of the year. The service scheme also is very important, and the welfare of the diplomats also are very important because as a member of parliament, I visited a couple of embassies, and I figure out some of the challenges which they are facing by not knowing that if you don't visit them, you don't know what they are dealing with. But I think I'm very conversant with some of the situation right now. We think they need a serious remedy in terms of their budgeting. And sometimes the staffs will go up to like 2 months, they didn't even have their salary, which is not fair. If I'm sitting here getting my salary at every end of month, those are the foreign land. They don't have no family tie. They don't have any other means to get to their salaries. They find it difficult. And they're having their families over there. I think those are very important issues. And the diaspora strategies also is very paramount. What we are facing right now currently on the diaspora situation is unbearable. We need to have a very serious strategy to remedy some of the issues, including these current deportees, which is the greatest concern of every Sondari in this country. We know that it's not the responsibility of the Gambia government, but still now there can be a modalities and way forward to at least to engage the partners, to let them know that detainees, we are not rejecting our own people, but we don't have the capacity to sustain them when they send them over here. Because sometimes when they get here, they are not only just a family member, but they get loitered in the street. And when that happens, most of these crimes are not committed with the residents of this country. But because they were exposed to the world, they feel like they know they are right, and they want to exercise their right for them to be heard. The only thing they can use it is use the violent way. And I don't think that is helping us. We can still now engage the partners, at least before sending them, we want them to train them. When they come over here, they'll be useful. But when they arrested them, detain them for certain periods without any, how to call it, capacity building, they send them back here. When they get here, they became a criminal. And we don't want them to have the country with a criminal records. We cannot avoid it, but we want a remedy also. But these are the strategies we can put in consideration that anytime they want to deport the citizen, we want to make sure that they capacitize them. When they get here, they know that they cannot go back there, but they will have something to engage themselves over here. I think those should be a part of your strategies to make sure that those children need to be protected also. When they are protected, the country will be protected from some of these criminal activities. Honorable members, if anybody have anything to add to the report, you can get the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. In your submission, you've said that there are some policy documents that are under review and some are at the drafting stage. So can you update us in the event whereby those policy documents that are not available, that are on the drafting stage, if something affects those diplomats? So what is the tool that you work with, the existing tool?
Well, thank you very much. When I say some are under review, that has existed for almost 20 years now. But the other documents are somehow new. That's why I refer to them as at the drafting stage. For example, the bill, it doesn't exist. Person policy, it doesn't exist. For the diplomatic manual, it doesn't exist. So they are kind of new things that we are drafting with the aim of also making them become a reality. But like the FSR, which is the main instrument that regulates issues affecting our diplomats, has been there. So basically, I was saying, when we look at the FSR this time around, we realize, like any other review exercise, there will be gaps you will realize in the document that are served you for 10 years. Within 10 years, a lot of developments happen. A classic case would be, for example, the document doesn't have much provision on what happened if somebody died in the service abroad. So, and these are realities. People will die. It doesn't matter where they are. So, but we need to have a clear court provision in the document so that when these things happen, whoever is on the ground will be able to know what should happen. But like any other document, it cannot foresee everything in the future. So this is what happens. And that's the main essence of the review. The review is to allow us time and vision to also add, value to what is already existing.
Thank you very much, PS. I will first apologize for starting the meeting late. It was due to some circumstances, and I will thank you for coming and commend you. Anytime we summons you, you are always here on time. Definitely, we need to commend you for that, definitely. As my colleagues just mentioned, from your deliberation, the diaspora strategy and then the foreign services. As he rightly said, myself too, we visited some embassies. Definitely, we've seen their conditions in those embassies and what they are encountering. Definitely, with that theme, with that diaspora strategy, I think you need to speed up with that in order to able to help our colleagues in the foreign services. So with the diaspora services, that is the diaspora strategy, definitely so many Gambians are suffering out there and they need help. They need help as soon as possible, definitely. Every day you will hear a news from a country, a very sad news for that matter. So definitely we are looking forward what you can do in order to help those diasporas, Gambians suffering over there. Definitely. This is my take. Definitely, they've mentioned it all. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I appreciate your comments. When National Assembly called, we have nothing to do other than to respond as duty bearers. And we will always try as much as possible to make ourselves available to this august body. We know how important assembly is in the job that we do as civil servants. I agree entirely with you. There are issues affecting Gambians outside this country. That remains a concern to all of us. Indeed, the plight of Gambians, whether they are in Europe or they're in Africa or in Asia, continue to be of crucial importance. And yes, sometimes we are constrained. For example, when it comes to repatriation, we would love to act quickly to make sure that we come to the help of our citizens wherever they are as a government. But as you know, if you check the 2023 budget, there is no budget for repatriation. Anytime unfortunate incidents happen, what we do is we collect statistics. Then we approach Ministry of Finance for help. It's like on ad hoc basis. This is what we did when the unfortunate situation happened in Sudan. We need about 13 to 14 million to evacuate those 66 Gambians. So imagine getting 13 to 14 million for a ministry like Foreign Affairs with the kind of budget we have, which is not in the budget. But we thank God with the support of the executive and the Ministry of Finance, we were able to raise, of course, with help from other people that were also approached by the Honorable Minister through his own initiative. We were able to rescue those 66 Gambians. It's the same thing in Libya, we have been working with IOM and other partners to evacuate. Recently, we have evacuated about 300 Gambians. The unfortunate situation in Tunisia and Algeria, we are at the moment on top of things. Though even with the difficulties in terms of resources, we have deployed a team from our mission in Morocco, a two-person team to physically go on the ground to see what is possible. But again, as I said, there are practical difficulties that we all need to understand and appreciate. If it comes to matters dealing with Gambians, as a ministry, we are concerned and we will continue to be concerned. But we need everybody's support to engage in an honest conversation about some of these things. You remember some time ago, I suggested to this August Assembly, moving forward next year, let's look at what kind of budget line we create for repatriation of Gambians. Because it's like now this is going to be with us for some time to come. Our young people need to be discouraged, need to be sensitized. We need to also provide opportunities for them so that they, have confidence that there is hope. They don't need to risk their life to go out of this country to make it. But that is for both short and long term. In the short term, the budget session is coming. We want this assembly to consider this repatriation of Gambians, a special budget under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so that when things like this happen, we will be able to quickly come to their rescue. Honorable Kea mentioned about conditions of our diplomats abroad. Yes, the conditions of our diplomats and their welfare, I have said it many times, and it will continue to remain our main focus as a ministry. What I don't agree with is the assumption or the information that sometimes they go 2 months without their salaries. That is inappropriate. Maybe that may be unique to a particular mission, and that mission may need to explain why. Because I don't know of any point in time in the last 21 years that I have been with the ministry that a mission has gone for 2 months without their salary. No. Maybe there could be internal management issues in some missions, which we are not privy to. But as far as we are concerned, salary is one thing that doesn't delay. Because mission salaries is just paid like you and I's salary. Once your salary is paid in Banjul, know that Treasury has also processed salaries for the mission. That is how it is worked out. It's only the local staff whose salaries are paid separately. But the diplomatic staff which are posted from Gambia, once our local salaries are processed here, their salaries are also processed. They are done together. So maybe there will be intervals of 2-3 days before the actual funds land into their accounts, or depending on the country. Some countries have stricter financial regulations. It will take a week or two before the transfer or remittance land into their bank account. But one thing I can assure you, salaries for diplomatic staff never get delayed that long. No. That information, I think, need to be rectified.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. I think I was privy to that information. I think when I was in that particular country, I contacted you. You promised that you're going to give me a call, and which you definitely know that there was a problem. There was a delay of the salary, and even though it might not be the problem of the Treasury of the Gambia, but the problem of the diplomat themselves within. And that problem need to be remedied by doing such a diplomat cannot hang on somebody's salary. It's unfair, it's unjustifiable. And you know the situation at that time. I was there almost 3 weeks. That problem never solved. It elapsed up to the 2nd month. That particular salary was not paid. I don't have to mention how it went on, but you definitely know what I am talking about. So we are not here to cajole on anything or try to make situation to be sugar-coated, but it was existing issue, which is internal, but the foreign affairs need to intervene to take their responsibility that there is no member or there is no diplomat who have that power or that audacity to take action on somebody's salary, and he has a family within that country. I don't think it's unfair.
Okay. We also understand that there are some embassies that are having arrears to pay their rents as well. So can you also update us on those issues?
Thank you very much, Honorable Care. Yes, you are right. You contacted me whilst you were in that place. But I can tell you, the affected staff, when we did our investigation, what came to light is that the affected staff himself is the spending officer of that embassy. So if you are the spending officer of your mission or of your house, you should know what is happening in your house. You should know what is in your bank account as the spending officer. If you don't know what is in your bank account until your own salary is affected, that's alarming. And as somebody who is entrusted with that responsibility, you cannot shift that blame on somebody else. Because in the first place, you are the one in charge of the chancery, running the chancery. So you should know what is happening to government money under your account. By failing to keep track until that happens, for me, was a big source of alarm. Indeed. So this is what happened. In terms of rent areas for embassies, as I speak to you, I don't think we owe any embassy rent areas. In fact, if anything, we have paid upfront up to September. What is happening is embassies have submitted. For example, your rent is 10 million a year, and this is what you submit. Ministry of Foreign Affairs compile these things and submit to finance. At the deciding stage, they decide to give you 8 million as your approved rent for 2024 or 23. Sorry. And that is what came to the assembly, and that is what assembly approved. So in a way, our hands are tied. Straight away, there is a shortfall of 2 million. So this is what is happening. Some people don't understand the difference. But to assure you, just yesterday, we have compiled, because we are trying to project in advance in terms of what is going to be the scenario for selected embassies. It's not all the embassies. Some are affected, some are not affected, but majority are affected by this. So we have already contacted them to tell us the figures in terms of what is going to be the likely shortfalls that they will need augmentation for. We compile up to yesterday, we confirm about up to about 35 million, but it's still, the process is still ongoing. So once we are done with the figures and we are sure that this is the exact amount, we will now have to approach Ministry of Finance to ask for augmentation. So this is where we need everybody's help. But in terms of areas, no. Of course, at the beginning of the year, there were challenges in terms of cash allocation from Ministry of Finance, but that has been taken care of. Only one embassy I remember carries forward from last year their areas, as far as I know. But even that one, we paid it by March.
Thank you, Ambassador. Are you planning to have to own an embassy in this foreign land? Because I think what we are spending on the rent on the foreign diplomats missions, I think it might be prudent at least to be starting to be owning some members, not some embassies, not all the embassies, but we can identify key areas or key countries to make sure that those areas, what we are gaining out of that we can sustain to have our own embassy. I don't know whether you have any plan in future to have such.
I think in another words, by mortgaging. We've mentioned like mortgaging the last time and get away from renting in order to own our own facilities. Yeah, I think that's the best idea.
Yes, Honorable Chair, like Honorable Member Cham said, again, this is also something that is very close to our heart. In fact, at the ministry level, we put up a committee to purposely look at government properties abroad and what can be done about them. The committee visited Senegal, where we have 5 properties, and also Abuja, where we now have 2 landed properties. So what is left now is to get the required funding to develop these properties. It was just yesterday I spoke to the ambassador in Dakar, and we were brainstorming on the best possible approach. We have also submitted 2 draft cabinet papers to cabinet for consideration as far as properties issues are concerned, because we believe where we are going to have permanent presence, the best thing is to own properties. As I speak to you, we own properties in Dakar, as I said, in Brussels, in Washington, also in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, London. Basically, these are the places I remember where we have properties. In Abuja, is 2 landed properties that are not developed. In Turkey also, it's not developed. But of course, Saudi Arabia too, we have our own property that we built. But yes, I agree entirely with you. We will need the support of all honorable members, and we hope that when our development budget comes this time, the assembly will help us take some decisions to say we want to build the Gambia Embassy or the Gambia High Commission in Abuja to finish, or we want to build 1 or 2 properties in Dakar for commercial purposes, so that the revenue from there can be used to finance other embassies. Cost-wise, we were told that in Dakar we will need about 150 million to 200 million to develop any one of those properties. The idea is to have a 8-story building of flats that can be rented out. So that's the cost estimate. Abuja, we have engaged some developers, and some of them are also willing to provide the financing as well as building it. So we are considering a turnkey scenario. Day before yesterday, I spoke to the High Commissioner there too, to say let him identify those who are willing and ready. Let them come to Banjul and discuss with the authorities so that we can move forward, so that we don't have to have a situation whereby the provision that is already in the 2023 budget will not be utilized. So this is what we are doing at the moment. But again, as I said, remains a matter of concern for us. If you ask me frankly, I would say even if it means taking a loan to buy properties, we should do it as a government, because that is where the future is.
SMS, do you have anything to add? I think we have exit.
Yes, thank you very much. With the issue of building our own embassies abroad, we understand that monies were given to your ministry to construct an embassy in Guinea-Bissau, which is currently having some issues. So can you update us about that embassy in Guinea-Bissau?
Thank you very much, Honorable. Yes, the situation in Guinea-Bissau is something that was brought to our attention. The unfortunate situation that a building was constructed sometime around 2011, I think, 2011, 2012. And now the building is not suitable for the purpose. I remember a conversation where the honorable members agreed to go on a fact-finding mission regarding this property. So this is where matters stand. I think it was highlighted by auditors. So the matter is currently under consideration. It remains a big source of concern for all of us because it involves government money. Government money was spent. We would need to understand what went wrong, because we were also told that the supervision was also done by the Ministry of Works. So what went wrong need to be understood. We must understand what went wrong, because if government happens to give contract in a foreign land and our own people were supervising, I don't understand why things happen the way they happen. But again, a fact-finding mission, as agreed the last time, will be able to establish all what happened, even though it happened a couple of years back. But the records should be able to, guide us, and government will then decide what to do. Because the information I have from the ambassador is that that building is not fit for occupation, so the building has to be demolished.
So since your take is that a fact-finding mission will be very important for your ministry to understand better about what went wrong. So is your ministry also, why is your ministry holding on to that fact-finding mission up to date since it was raised?
No, I'm not saying the ministry is saying fact-finding mission. That's from the Honorable Assembly itself. That's from this committee, not the ministry. If I remember well, Honorable Cham can be a witness. That was the assembly that suggested that. So we said we are available anytime the committee is ready.
We are ready. The question is why it is taking you for so long until the year is ending.
No, we are waiting for you. That was what we agreed the last time. The fact-finding mission was going to be sanctioned by the assembly. And we said anytime you are ready, we are ready. This was what I remembered.
Okay, noted.
Thank you, Pierre. I think I can fully remember that. That suggestion comes from us, and I think we need to persuade to make sure that we get to the bottom of it. And in collaboration with them, we will need their expertise also to accompany us. But the suggestions come from us, and we have to persuade them to make sure that it happens. Thank you. Yes, I think the SMS has raised a very vital issue right now. Need to financial FSR 2012, now before September 2023. It has been budgetary implication, and very soon the Ministry of Finance will issue the 2024 budget called circular. So, what are the positions right now from this? Oh, the mic was okay. Okay, all right. It's not getting me. All right. So, NITO Financial FSR 2012. Excuse me? Yeah, finalized 2012. Now before September 2023. It has been budgetary implications, and very soon, Minister of Finance will issue the 2024 budget called circular.
Yes, that's what I said. I said we are concerned by the delay that this process has taken because some of them have spanned over 5-6 years, and that's why as a management, busy as we are, we have now taken this seriously. I just said yesterday was the day we concluded our meeting on the revised FSR. That tells you that we are also conscious of the timeline, and not even the budget issue. What we are concerned about is the document was due for review for a long time, and it has to be reviewed. Also, specifically, even though the ministry, as far as we are concerned, the 2012 version is the current version, in some quarters, there have been arguments and counter-arguments that 2002 or 2009 version is what is in existence, even though that is never sanctioned by the ministry, which is the custodian of this document. So that alone is enough pressure for us to make sure that we do this quickly, so that we all have a common ground and an understanding that the document we have is what is authentic. So we are aware, and we will try and do our level best. In terms of budgetary allocation in the 2024, yes, we are also rushing. So hopefully we'll be able to make it in a month or two. Then we, in a way, we were saying, if we are to do our budget submission also, there are things we want to project, taking into account what we have in some of these drafts. This is what we agreed on. I'm not sure whether I'm very clear on that. So like, for example, what percentage we are looking at in terms of warm clothing, then we need to project that in our budget submission. So this is what we are not putting all our eggs in one basket. That is to say, whether we have the document before the deadline in terms of budget submission or not, our budget, we want to sit over it and think beyond, outside the box, so that we will be able to foresee likely scenario that we will have in 2024 and factor it in the budget.
Madam Member, do you have anything else?
Speaking of the budget, I understand that your ministry have been allocated with funds to open up embassies in Scandinavia and is it South Korea or Japan? So can you also update us whether those embassies have started operation?
The answer is yes, we have been given approval to open these two new embassies. But if you remember, when we were doing the negotiation for the opening, what was agreed was to delay the opening, because if you look at what is approved in the budget, it's 3 million for each embassy as rent. That is not even enough to pay for 3 months rent for a full complement of embassy staff. So the idea was to get the approval this year, do as many countries will do. Open the embassy with a minimal staff, let's say a counselor and a finance attaché, plus maybe 2 other local staff. Run it to end of December, whilst we plan for 2024. Normally embassies opening, that's what countries do. You don't just go all out to appoint an ambassador with a full complement of staff. If you follow the media, you will see Germany has opened an embassy in the Gambia 2 months ago. Prior to that, Morocco has opened an embassy in the Gambia. But that's the strategy they use. So what we have in the approved budget cannot cater for a whole full year operation, even 6 months of the embassy. So people don't take time to study that. Because I remember when we came for that negotiation, our initial projection was 45 million for the 3 embassies. Each one of them, 15 million. But when negotiations happened, only one of them, I think Japan, got about 14 million. Germany and Sweden got 13 point something million, if I remember. But you can open the estimate. It's in the approved estimate. You will see what I'm talking about.
It was touched there.
No,
We all unanimously agreed.
No,
to
I'm
that
coming.
proposal.
I'm coming, honorable member. I am saying 13 million cannot run a full-fledged embassy for a whole year. It cannot. So that is why we said we will have this approval and we will delay the opening to the 2nd or 3rd quarter of the year. We can open like countries do. You open and grow. That's what happened with embassy running. If you look at, for example, what is in the budget for Germany, compare it to what is in the budget for Brussels mission, compare it to what is in the budget for Spain, you will realize, you will understand what I'm talking about. If you check what has been approved for Sweden, compare it to what is in the budget for Geneva, you will again understand what I'm talking about. So the whole idea was to get the approval so that we will negotiate, open these embassies in this year. We are ready. We are ready, and we are working very hard to make sure that we open the embassies before the end of the year. But again, resource issues comes into play.
And to say here, maybe that is between your end and the Minister of Finance. But according to what you presented to our committee during the budget bilateral, we unanimously agreed not to cut anything from that budget presented to us.
No, you did. We presented 45 million. You gave us 41 million. Yes. You see, these are figures that I participated fully. A lot of them I did them myself. So that's why I can remember them. But as I said, the whole idea at that time, if you want to look at our envelope, our resource envelope as a ministry, and you want to add 3 full-fledged embassies, technically it's not going to flow. So that's why we agreed that we are going to have a formula whereby approval will be given and we will have the mandate to open the embassies in 2023. And again, opening the embassies also doesn't mean you open today and fully staff today. No, it doesn't work like that.
I think we are getting into another world. The rain is about to come. So if we, if we, why do I not have to be worried? I mean, I am farming. Anyway, thank you for that. How to call it? Briefing and giving also so much idea about what we don't know. And still now, I'll go back to my previous statement that the deportees. We need a modalities to, we cannot stop it, but we need to have a way of capacitizing them before getting into this country. That also need to be on the modalities, on your strategies on how to call it, diaspora strategy. So we will definitely need your support, and that will give a peace of mind to the whole country. Because these youngsters are taking this dangerous journey to how to call it back way. They call it a back way. This back way syndrome, we cannot eradicate it. But the way we can at least put a minimize also to at least to inject those youths. When they capacitize, they get into this country, they'll be useful. They themselves, when they start producing or they start to make something for themselves, I think they will get away with this backway syndrome. So unless the modalities are on the ground, that's the way you can convince them not to take this dangerous journey. But as long as that is not happening, we're not going to find it easy. We would like you to have that one into consideration. Thank you. On that note, we would like to end the meeting here today, and with recommendations, I think we can close the meeting, Madam Clerk.